Welcome to All Pro Football Data. My name is Jim Coburn, and today's episode we're talking about Oklahoma State running back Ollie Gordon based on production and other statistical factors. That's right, everybody. We're going to be going over 2025 NFL draft prospects. Why? Because we're a bunch of sickos, I tell you. We're a bunch of freaks. That's what it is. So we're going to look at all of his data in terms of how he projects and just kind of go through it. So stay tuned until the end of the video where I give a final outlook review on Ollie Gordon. But let's get to it. So starting with offensive market share scores, you can learn more about this by looking at this particular data right here. Good production. His total offensive market share, 91 percentile. His receiving market share in the 77 percentile area, and then touchdown market share was in the 97 percentile range. Great overall market share production for him. I mean, there's not a whole lot of negatives to really speak on with this man. Then, of course, you get to his efficiency scores. Taking a look at efficiency, he was very efficient, with the exception of yards per reception. So his receiving production wasn't the best, but his yards per touch and touchdowns per touch were all areas that were very positive for him. Again, this is not a huge knock on him. It's just his production as a receiver wasn't the best. And I think this is something that he could definitely improve upon this year in many ways for him. Then, of course, you get to adjusted production traits. Adjusted production takes a look at everything under the sun and moon in terms of their production, in terms of strength of schedule, strength of team, and age. It's the context of that production. So how productive were they for their age, for the level of competition that they faced, for the team that they were on. And these are areas where he did exceptionally well. When you look at his age score, his MSA rating, and his pass score, all those areas are pretty much exactly where you want them to be in terms of him as a prospect. Now, in terms of the comparables for him, so I went back and looked at all the data, looked at all the running backs that tested similar to him from a data perspective, and these are the backs that are in that range. So this is backs that had really high total offensive market share with, slightly, above average receiving market share, but not elite receiving market share, and then good touchdown market share and everything else like that. And this is kind of where Ollie Gordon was at. He was with guys like Ricky Williams, Jonathan Taylor, Ezekiel Elliott, Bo Jackson, Ron Dane, Bishop Sankey, and Herschel Walker. Those are all the running backs that he tested similar to based on his overall data. That's not a bad group to be in at all based on his production traits. And also when you look at his TD percentages especially, you can see a lot of positives there in terms of him. So great list of backs to be in terms of who he tested similar to. Now, when you get to his outlook, Ollie Gordon profiles as a backup to all-pro running back long term. And he has another season to improve upon these stats as well. The only weakness in his game really comes down to receiving production, but that's a nitpick. He has enough receiving production to be considered a dual threat running back, if you will, in terms of that ability. So it's not that he has to be like a Marshall Faulk-like player in terms of his ability to catch football out of the backfield. It's just that if he improved it a little bit more, it would kind of give teams a little less concern in terms of that particular area of his game for in terms of that. So, and some of this also deals with the offensive scheme. Some teams don't really utilize their running backs as receivers, which may be the case with him here, or they have specific backs who do certain things. So you have one back who does the receiving stuff and another back that does all the rushing stuff, and that might be the case as well. But that's sort of what it is when it comes to Ollie Gordon in terms of things that could improve from that perspective is that. In terms of the other things, NFL teams look for other things than just production. They look at their character, how they are, how they conduct themselves on and off the football field. They took a look at their blocking ability. Can they block? That's a big thing that really is important to NFL teams. If you can't block, you're not going to see the field, even though you might be a good running back. Selflessness is part of blocking as well. But these are the things that I think a lot of NFL teams are going to look at in terms of him, in terms of projecting him. But I see him as a first-round running back right now. If he didn't play this season at all and decided to just take a year off, he would still be a first-round running back to me based on my data. Now, NFL teams may not view that the same way because that obviously wouldn't be considered a selfless thing to just take a year off of football. but that is something that if he was to do that, his data is not going to change. He already has produced at a level where let's go ahead and draft him. And in terms of dynasty drafts, in terms of situations like that, where you're able to kind of draft players early. So I played in one dynasty league where you would be able to draft a sophomore, a freshman, a junior, and a senior every year. You'd be able to draft four players early before they actually were drafted. He would be one of those players I definitely would have on that list of drafting early, in terms of that. So that is the overall projection on Ollie Gordon. Of course, my name is Jim Coburn. You can check out my other work at at patreon.com/jcoburn. Also, check out my ex formerly known as Twitter account at Geometrics. And I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.